morning and welcome to Today in L.A. as we have a little bit of a rumble
echo. Our monitor's volume is turned up.
We're coming to you from our studios on South Brundage Street in Troy, Alabama. And as soon as we get this sound was left off up front here, and here comes the maestro himself. Multi-millionaire working our show today. A good friend of mine.
I'll tell you what, if we ever have, when we were talking about the coronavirus off the air, Mike.
Yeah.
If things ever get really bad, people are talking about prepping and preparing and buying all their supplies. Steve Camp would be fine because he can handle them. He can hunt, he can fish. He can find his own
food. He's like old Hank.
He can clean the pieces and cut it into meat.
He's a country boy that could survive.
That's,
isn't that right?
That's it.
My name is Mike Amos. His name is Bill Rice Jr. And we're coming to you live from our actual offices and wonderful
Fifth Avenue in New York City. It's like the Today Show where they have all the people behind you that you can see through the window.
And our studio is located in Troy, Alabama, and the name of our show is Today in L.A. That's Lower, Alabama. Bill Rice is with us, my friend. Good to see you. Rice is a shark of many colors. He can do a lot of different things, can talk about a lot of different things. And, of course, today we want everybody to go to the vote, don't we?
That's what they say. It's Super Tuesday.
But very few local elections, isn't it?
We were talking about it. I don't know if any. I would assume that if we had some, we would see all the yard signs that are everywhere. And so I guess all the local elections have already been held or will be held in the future. But we got a big race for 2nd District Congress, Martha Roby seat, U.S. Senate seat, and on the Democratic side, President seat. And I see that a lot of people are starting to drop out of the. Have you noticed that?
Exactly.
Mayor Pete has dropped out, and some other lady dropped out.
We're going to see just how popular former Auburn football coach Tommy Tuberville is.
Oh, can I tell you a story about that, Mike?
Yeah.
ESPN.com, which I visit often, and Michael does, did a big story on Tuberville's race. The fact that a former football coach is running for Senate.
Sure, yeah.
And the angle was, how can a hated Auburn coach win an election in Alabama where 70% of the voters might be Alabama fans? So the reporter, Ivan Mizell, went to the Alabama LSU game with Tommy Tuberville, who was campaigning at that game. And he interviewed all kind of Alabama fans, asked them if they'd vote for him. And the main thing they were talking about was his famous fear the thumb statement when Auburn had beat Alabama 6 times in a row. And one person Mizell quoted in the story was my brother Rush, who was, of course, at the game. And Rush's quote was something like, "Oh, we're just glad that he finally ran out of fingers," or something
you're right.
like. But the quote, it said, "Russ Rice from Montgomery," and they spelled it R-U-S-S, and his name is Rush, R-U-S-H.
Yeah.
So Rush gets quoted in a big article read by 1 million people, and they get his name wrong.
Isn't that unreal? And of course, a lot of Auburn folks out there, this guy beat Alabama 6 straight times. They got to love him, And don't you feel like a lot of them will go to the polls just because he's a former Auburn football coach?
Yeah, and I think he's done well with
winning over.
He's done well winning over these Alabama fans. He's got a great personality, and he's real candid, and he had some funny quotes in that story. He was saying "Roll Tide" all that day.
Well, I tell you one thing about him. He's he thinks a little bit different.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like what he thinks, the way he thinks.
I was behind his bus. I was going down the highway the other day. I might have told the story. It's an RV, I guess, all painted up in big letters on the back of the RV. It said Tuberville, of course. And right up beneath it, the line beneath it, just as big letters, 3 feet high letters, it said Trump. So they're all campaigning on Trump's coattails.
Exactly. They're all doing that. And, You know, legitimately, what does he stand for?
You know, that's so vague. You know, I watch all the commercials. If you're a Republican, you're for what? You're for strong national defense. You're for gun rights, and you're for the right to life. Is the things I keep hearing.
I mean, if he wore fatigues to to Sunday school, you know, that would be accepted, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, or hunting attire, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, he's name recognition is so important.
Somebody, there was a quote in that story.
I would think he has good name recognition.
Well, there was a study done that says 86% of the voters in Alabama knew his name, and somebody said that if you were new to politics, it would have cost you at least $10 million to get that.
Which it sounds the most politically correct. Tommy Tuberville or Troy King?
Let's see. Well, they're running in different races.
I know, but I mean those.
I would say Tommy Tuberville's got definitely got more name recognition than Troy King, who was the Attorney General of Alabama for 5 or 6 years.
And a lot of people think Troy King is more local, like he's actually from Elba,
mm-hmm.
you know,
mm-hmm.
originally. So that's going to help him a little bit. And of course, being the former Auburn football coach, it's going to help Tommy Tuberville. And our guy from Dothan, what do you think? I would think he would have good name recognition, wouldn't you think?
Well, he spent the money to get it. I mean, I see his billboards and his commercials everywhere. His wife is just as famous as he is because she's on most of the commercials. But Jeff Coleman owns a trucking moving company, was actually a fraternity brother of mine at Alabama. He's supposedly the favorite, and he's got all the big endorsements. So he's kind of like, remember Terry Everett came out of nowhere when he ran for that seat?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody had heard of Terry Everett. And
that's right.
Boy, he worked super hard.
But he
spent a lot of money.
He was a Republican at the right time.
At the right time. That's right.
And, of course, we're looking at it today. Voting starts today at, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock? What time does it start? I'm not positive.
I think it usually starts at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock this morning, so people that are going to work. Now, also, there's rain everywhere. Don't you think that could affect the vote?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, boy, I mean, I left here and went to Birmingham in a driving rainstorm all morning long. It rained in Birmingham. And then on the national scale, we're looking at several people. Of course, we're looking at you know, everybody looks at Trump as being rich. Well, he don't even know what rich is compared to Bloomberg.
Well, I read somewhere that he's going to spend $1 billion with a B of his own money running for president.
Won't he go out and feed the multitudes or feed the poor or whatever with all that money? And he is a guy that made it on his own. You read his bibliography, and he started from scratch. And he's worth how many $1 billion? Somebody told me he's worth $1.7 million an hour. Is that right?
I know.
And a day? No, excuse me. Maybe it's a day.
Some people say, how rich is Trump? I guess we know how rich Bloomberg is, but my question has always been, how do you become such a multi-billionaire in his business where he created some kind of computer monitors that gauge all the financial news in the world that stockbrokers and investors have in their offices.
And
I would have never thought that there's that much money in that business.
Yeah. Let me tell you another.
Take a break.
We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa Know-How. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa Know-How team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Napa Know-How. Big discounts, big selection, and really big deals. It's the Big Pre-Owned
sale. Only at Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pre-owned vehicles start at $29.95. Over 50 vehicles under $15,000. $29 down. And you can drive today or take advantage of payments starting at $99 a month. That's $29 down. And payments starting as low as $99. From Montgomery to Dothan, the best pre-owned deal are Premier Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at PremierChrysler.com. Nobody beats a Premier deal. Nobody.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
At the Piggly Wiggly, we proudly support our local farmers and bring you the best they have to offer, all at cost plus 10%. When you shop local, you reinvest in your community. Remember, buy local, shop local. Piggly Wiggly, local since forever.
Roy Moore and
Troy King. All right,
no, not Troy King.
Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, and of course this is a Tuesday. It is voting day today, as everybody, all of this political, these millions and even billions of dollars spent on congressional races and the presidential race, and the Democrats are trying to decide who they're going to vote for, but they don't do that until what's the final vote on it?
The Democrats' primaries today. Trump is running unopposed, so there's no Republican
so we
primary.
Won't have to worry about that.
Yeah, and then the general election will be in November.
And then, of course, Bernie and all those guys are trying to get the Republican nomination. Of course, locally is where we're looking at it. We said it's not a local race, but a regional race.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a young man who is just now, for the first time ever, entering the political arena from Dothan.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, he is... here we go. We're going to bring this guy in. Good morning. How you doing?
Hey, morning.
I'll tell you, we were just talking about Jeff Coleman in the Senate race, Michael, and he is the brother of the man who married you. Is that right?
Yeah, John Coleman.
The man who actually dropped the ring. Is that right?
Yeah, we got married in watercolor at the boathouse. He dropped the ring, and
thank goodness it didn't go through the.
Fall in the leg. Yeah.
So he is a Episcopal vicar, minister. He was at the Church of the Ascension in Montgomery for a long time. I don't know where he is now.
Yeah, he was friends of ours. Richard and Brittany Callahan went to church there, and I'd actually heard him preach there before. He was actually SA at Alabama too. I remember back in the days.
All right, now we're talking about his brother. That's all we need to say. Is that right?
His brother's a big Troy booster, isn't he?
Yeah, big Troy booster. Been a Troy booster for a long time.
Is he on the board?
No, he's on the foundation board, though, I think, at Troy, which is a pretty lofty position, I would think.
Just reading about this tornado that came through downtown Nashville, killed 7 people, but the death toll is very early.
Oh boy!
Several buildings were destroyed around downtown. So hopefully everybody will be okay. Maybe 7 people's. Of course that's too many already, but maybe that'll be the only total as far as deaths. But apparently it was on the ground for several minutes in Nashville.
You rarely hear about a tornado hitting the big metropolitan city. I can't think of very many times.
Well, there's a great story about Alabama playing in the SEC championship, not championship, but SEC tournament in basketball. There's actually like a little documentary about it on the SEC network about the tornado that came through, and if Alabama's player, I can't remember his name was Delk or what his last name was, doesn't make a 3, and that game goes to overtime, basically 15,000 people walk out right in the middle of the tornado.
Oh, me.
They did a story about that one time, I remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
I read that story, too. Alabama guy hit a 3-pointer late. That made the game go into overtime, so that delayed by X minutes when the game was over, and that's when that freak tornado. It wasn't on the ground long, but it did some damage to that arena. It blew a hole in the roof, didn't it?
Yeah, didn't they have to finish the tournament at Georgia Tech, from what I remember?
Yeah, I think the final game was. You're right.
That's good memory, no question about it. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is important times of the year as we're trying to make a decision on who to vote for.
Who are you voting for? No, I'm kidding.
We went ahead and endorsed Will Matthews yesterday.
Did you? Well, Will Matthews is on the ballot. I was looking for a ballot this morning, and that's what I could not find.
I think Will said he's number 16.
That's good. That's right.
Will Matthews.
He's one of 3 people running as a delegate.
Will Matthews. There is a time for a new beginning with Will Matthews. Who used that slogan?
My old friend Bob James from
Bob
Opelika.
James. I remember that so well. Bob James, it's time for a new beginning. I don't want to confuse people this morning.
Oh, that race was so intense. I was in, it was 1976. I just moved to Troy. I think 78, I bet. And we were big Bob James people because we knew him when we lived in Opelika. And matter of fact, my little brother and his youngest son, Patrick, were best friends. So Patrick would spend the night at our house all the time, and Bobby would spend the night at Bob James' house all the time. This is when Bobby would have been about 2nd grade. And but I can remember that we and several other people in town were big Bob James people, but then I had friends that were big Bill Baxley people, and then who was the other one? There was maybe Jerry Beasley was running in that
right.
And man, it was intense, even at Charles Henderson Middle School. You know.
Nobody gave Bob James a chance. I was working with state government during that time, and every afternoon he'd be outside the doors of the state office building with his sleeves rolled up. That was
his signature.
That was his signature. Sleeves rolled up all the way to the elbows, and handing out cards.
He was a nice man.
And of course, it didn't hurt that he was an All-American football player on Auburn's national championship team in 1957.
What was his nickname at Auburn?
I should know it. What was it?
Fumbling Bob.
Fumbling Bob. I wouldn't. Hey, he was a good football player.
I know, but he must have fumbled it too many times.
Where was he from? Was he from Opelika? Where was his home?
I think he's Selma, but I might be
wrong.
wrong.
I don't think he's from Selma.
Well, somebody, Lynette?
Yeah. No, he's not from Lynette, but I think he's from, I want to say.
He didn't grow up in Opelika. He didn't grow up in Opelika.
I was thinking, though, when he ran for office, he was, but he was a great football player in 1957 when Auburn won the national championship. But, of course, we've got quite an election coming up with former Auburn coach.
Bob James is 85 years old and was born in Lynette, Alabama.
Lynette, okay, he was born in Lynette with all those quarterbacks.
And his brother helped him start Diversified Products. I wonder if that's still in Opelika, but they're famous for making barbells, the plastic-coated barbells, and then the other product I remember making was ping pong tables. But
now, let me ask you this, a great trivia question here. On those barbells, whose name was on those barbells?
Charles Atlas?
Barbells, no. Those plastic-covered barbells, whose name was on it?
I owned some. When I first started lifting weights in 8th grade, that's what I had.
Ted Williams.
Okay.
Ted Williams, the great baseball player, his name was on those barbells.
On barbells?
Isn't that crazy?
On Bob James Diversified Products?
That's right. It didn't say Bob James. It said Ted Williams. Ted Williams was in with him, evidently, on the marketing of it. And all of those items that were coming out during those days had Ted Williams' name on it. And if I'm wrong, somebody call me and correct me if I'm wrong.
Ted Williams, we can talk about Ted Williams in the future show.
But again, let's talk politics this morning, Mike. Tell us who you're going to. Well, that's right, you don't vote. This is the first time in a long time you don't vote. Is that right?
I'm a native Floridian.
I mean, you don't vote in this election. Are you?
Yeah, I can vote in Florida.
I'll run for it. The Senate is running for the Senate is Jeff Sessions, who had the seat and then became Attorney General for Trump. That's why we're even having this election. If he would have never became Trump's Attorney General, he would still be senator running unopposed, probably.
That's right. You're right.
Jeff Sessions, Tommy Tuberville, Judge Rory Moore, who's got good name recognition, and Bradley Byrne, who is a congressman down in the Mobile area. And then in the congressional seat because Martha Roby just retired. Martha Roby's still young. I know Martha Roby. You've got Jeff Coleman, Barry Moore, who was on our show, Troy King, who was on our show, and then the blonde-haired lady from Prattville. I can't think what
lady, yeah.
And from what Will told us yesterday, Coleman's going to win, or he's the favorite. So those other three I just gave you are all running to make the runoff, and he says it's neck and neck between all three of them.
Oh, boy.
So there'll just be one person that makes the runoff.
Yeah, exactly right. And like you said, it's going to be interesting. It really will be, no question about it. And
we can watch the news tonight on Channel 8, and I bet Steve Flowers will be on it giving his commentary.
What it looks like, though, it looks like a runoff in all those elections, to tell you the truth. You know, I don't think it can help but be, I don't think, unless somebody just runs away with it.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, you're right.
But again, Tuberville, being the former Auburn coach, Mike, do you think there are people at Auburn that are going to vote for him just because of his just because he beat Alabama 6 straight times? Do you think that'll help him? I would think it'd help him, don't you?
I would imagine you're going to have a lot of Auburn people vote for him, and you're going to have a lot of just football fans probably vote for him. I mean, regardless if
that's right.
Well, for Alabama or not, you know, a lot of people like football coaches, so especially in the state of Alabama. He's a guy that could, you see politicians on television and hear you know, the way people speak and talk, and he actually fits it pretty well to me, from what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no question. You know, he's used to talking to an audience, you know, and
he had some interesting quotes in that ESPN story I referenced, comparing running for office to being a football coach.
That's right. Yeah.
Big news. Church of Highlands plans the Troy location. That means about 700 to 800 people will be coming to Troy.
Where would they do it from? Where would they, the Trojan Arena, or where would they have the services?
Well, you know, when I managed the Bryant Conference Center in Tuscaloosa until they built a location off campus, we used to have 700 people, 2 different services.
You know who's jumping up and down about that? Just jumping up and down and doing backward flips? Our merchants on the bypass. Just think of those eating places.
Oh, you're right. That's a good point, Mike.
I mean, you know, if they have that kind of attendance to the churches, just think how many, how that is going to enhance our.
You know, I moved from
food vendors and
Pike Road in Montgomery, and for years they had it at the Impact downtown, Montgomery Performing Arts Center. Then they built them a fine new facility on Taylor Road. So that seems to be their modus operandi. They rent a facility for a while, and then when they get an established congregation, they build a place.
They had a planned meeting that took place at Troy University at the Trojan Center, where 200 people were there for the meeting.
All right, that's where they'll have it, I would think. Will, I say that, I would think they would use the Trojan Arena.
Chris Hodges, who started the church, has announced the church has approved buying property for future building for 5 branch locations across the state. It's not saying where the location in Troy is going to be at this time. So,
but it says Troy will be a location.
Yep.
How many towns are they in now? Does the story say?
And they're all over the southeast. They just built a 1,500 seat sanctuary that's now 2,000 in Fultondale outside of Birmingham. They've got a church service in Huntsville that has 4,000 that come each week. Gaston has over 1,200 each week.
I mean, 1,200 people go to that church each week.
Yeah, I mean, it's
There's a lot more than they go to that in Montgomery on Taylor Road.
Yeah, they got one on Taylor Road, yeah.
And they have 2 services. We visited when we lived up there.
Church of Highlands has over 50,000 worshipers now in the southeast.
Yeah. Of course, let's familiarize this with our audience. We're talking about non-denominational services.
That's
Is
right.
that right?
Yeah, they have 20 branches from Louisville to Mobile and Tuscaloosa to Columbus, Georgia.
Man, oh man, that is huge.
And what happens? I've been. People love it. Yeah.
This gonna.
But you go and you have some music, contemporary music played, and then you have some church leaders that talk briefly. And then you go to a big screen where the founder of the church, the main pastor, gives his sermon on big, large video board.
Yeah. Mike, the church I go to at the beach is like this, and like he just said, they'll have all this music, and then a lot of them have permanent speakers and permanent preachers, but a lot of times, like he said, the big guy comes on screen and gives the sermon.
It's fed live, so my question is, whatever happened? The whole church is based on that guy. So what if something happens to him?
I would think this would be
the church has not released the location of property purchased for planning new buildings pending on the finalization of real estate transactions. So we need to make a call to this guy today. I think there's good property around Crow Hill area.
Tua Tagovailoa belonged to that church.
Yeah, that's right.
And
I think like you said, it's mostly college students would be involved, don't you think?
No, I've been to the services, but it's real appeal to cross-section of ages and, demographics.
Well, that's big news, I tell you.
It's become one of the biggest mega churches in America, without a doubt.
And it originated in Birmingham. In fact, your sister went to it in the early days, didn't she?
She went to another mega church. She went to Briarwood Christian when she was up there, which was probably about 6,000 people.
Yeah, and
that was off 459 in Vestavia.
And now she's become an Episcopalian. Is that right?
The Church of Highland started in their big campus started next to Nick Saban Mercedes off Grants Mill Road.
When did it start? Does the story say? It's amazing how fast they've grown in a decade or so.
I mean, I definitely remember when I was at the University of Alabama.
Okay.
I mean, how old was I then? I was around 36, I guess. So that's 7 years ago.
I can remember
8 or 9.
Yeah. I can remember being in Birmingham, going out to eat on a Sunday and seeing the traffic.
And
they had to have police officers, and you'd have to wait 30 minutes to get out.
Well, that's the same. That's the way it is in Taylor Road, and like I said, they have 2 services. They might have 3.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all packed.
You know what I love? They worshiping Jesus Christ, our Savior. That's what I like about it. Is Jesus is winning out on all of this, and I love it. I love it because we need to be more conscious of what's going on in our churches and support our churches.
Hamp Green. There's a Dr. Hamp Green in Montgomery.
Known for his great golf.
Yeah, and then his son, Hamp Green, was a great football player at Montgomery Academy when they won the state championship, a running back, but he was a place kicker at Alabama. He was a second-string place kicker. Real well-known family in Montgomery. I did a story, a retrospective, looking back at MA's state championship football team for the paper I worked at in Montgomery, and I interviewed Hamp, who's now 40-something. And he is now one of the main top lieutenants in the Church of the Highlands in Birmingham.
Young Ham,
Young Ham.
Exactly, yeah. Of course, his daddy is also a big golfer. I remember that very well. We lost our caller. We'll get him back in a few moments.
And Dr. Moody calling in?
We're expecting him to call in this morning, and of course, that's some very important information he's got.
Listen to all these campuses they have. Let's see, one in Alabaster, Auburn East, Auburn West campus, Columbus, Georgia, Fultondale, Gaston, Grandview. That's where the old Scrushy building was, the Health South. They have Grants Mill Road, which isn't too far down the road, Greystone, Huntsville, McCalla, Mobile Bay, down on the bay in Mobile, Montgomery, of course, off Taylor Road that we talked about, Opelika, Oxford, River Chase, and Muscle Shoals, Sylacauga.
Yeah, that's huge.
Tuscaloosa, West Birmingham, Woodlawn.
Oh, me.
And now, apparently, Troy, Alabama.
Troy's the littlest town, except for maybe Sylacauga on that list.
And, that is amazing. That is a growth thing. I mean, a dynasty type thing, Mike. I've never seen anything like it.
It would be a great story for a national magazine. Maybe I need to write it, huh?
But, like you take First Baptist here in Troy, is a big church. Well, it's got to threaten First Baptist a little bit.
Well, the one in
threaten all the churches that young people go to.
Yeah, sure will.
The super church in Montgomery forever was Fraser. I guess it still is. But when John Ed Matheson was there for 30 years, everybody knows John Ed. But yeah, I just assume that a lot of people that would once go to Fraser are now going to Church of the Highlands.
This is a huge thing, and the great thing about it is they're worshiping Christ, you know, and you know, I think it's a very positive thing when we talk about that, and we talk about people going to church, going to a facility and worshiping God. And I like all of that, but boy, it's going to hurt a lot of our churches.
Well, you know, they have...
especially with, like you said, with the youth.
They have a lot of groups and outings that, you know, so you go and you hear the top guy on video giving his sermon, but they have all kind of activities and for different ages during the week. And so there is a lot of local focus, too.
Like the one I go to in Panama City when I'm there on the weekends. It's a big church, I mean, and it's well done, and they do have a pastor there full time, but when he's not there, it comes over the air.
Well, I read a lot, Mike, as you know, and one story that caught my attention not too long ago was that church membership is down in America in the last 10 years, and the Catholic Church particularly is really suffering, but people say they're members and go regularly to church services is way down from previous generations.
If it brings more people to God, I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong. I am all for it, 100%. But I do worry about, losing maybe some of the strength of a church, of our local churches,
right.
First Methodist, First Baptist, let's pick up this call right here. We're going to put you on hold here, Mike. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, Mike. Welcome back.
Thank you, Will. I just had to run to Birmingham to have a little work done and ready to be back with us. But, boy, we've been given a shocker this morning. I know we need to be talking about voting, and we will talk about voting day and all that, but we're talking about one of these big churches is moving to Troy. And I'm talking about one of these mega churches.
Church of the Highlands.
Yeah, Church of the Highlands. You've heard of that before, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. We've got one in Dothan. I mean, it's going everywhere.
All right, boy, it really is. And now it's going to go in Troy. And don't you think that could affect our big churches like First Methodist in Ozark and First Baptist in Troy?
I don't know. I mean, it might. Who knows?
Yeah. Of course, Will Matthews is calling in this morning, and have you gone to the poll yet? The polls are open as we speak.
I have. I was there at 7 o'clock when it opened, and there was 150 people in line waiting to get in the door.
Well, there you go.
And, of course, a lot of them are ready to get in the door to vote for Will Matthews as a...
oh, yeah. I'm sure at least 3 of them were.
You are on the ballot statewide. How many votes do you think you'll get statewide?
Last time I got like 150,000.
Isn't that amazing? Will Matthews from Ozark, Alabama got 150,000 votes. Boy.
He should have got more.
What did you do, Will, to get all those votes? Name recognition or what?
A lot of people know me, but...
Did you have any opposition? Who is your opposition?
I've got 2 people. Mike, this is crazy. I never spend a nickel on this because, I mean, it costs me money if I get elected. It costs about $3,000 to go to the convention.
Yeah.
There is one of my opponents that spent $38,000.
Look, I'm going to bring Mike in. Hold on now. I'm going to bring Mike in.
All right.
And we'll get this thing with hold right there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. There we go. Got both of you on?
Yeah, I'm on.
Mike, we got Will on, and he cannot understand why somebody would spend $38,000 to
be a delegate.
To be a delegate to the state Republican convention.
Well, that's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to have to take to knock off a guy like Will Matthews.
That's right. It takes that kind of guy to get Will Matthews.
If I end up winning it, I'm gonna laugh. Somebody spent that kind of money.
Well, I endorsed you on the air yesterday.
That may put me over the top.
Will Matthews, it's time for a new beginning with Will Matthews.
I told y'all the story about our Judge Clower here in Troy that ran for an appeals court judge one time. Just put his name on the ballot, paid the entry fee, which is, I don't know, $200 qualifying fee, and didn't spend a cent. Everybody else spent all this money advertising, and he won. Probably because he was the first name on the ballot.
That,
you know?
that has a lot to do with it. Will, are you first person on the ballot?
And you know, Bill, he tried to get his money back, and they wouldn't give it to him, and he ended up winning.
All right, but now, Will, are you the first on the ballot, or who?
There's three of us running, and I'm in the middle.
Okay. And how good do you?
How many years in a row have you been this? What? 8 years in a row?
I got elected in 2012. I was a Newt Gingrich delegate. And then, of course, Romney won. Newt didn't get there, but anyway, Romney didn't win Alabama. Newt did, so that's why I got to go then. And then I was a Trump delegate in 16, and this time I'm a Trump delegate, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
He's a Trump delegate whose son helped get Trump elected and now works in the Trump administration.
That's true. He told me this morning, he said, if Trump doesn't win, he's out of a job. I said, that's fine. He's going to win. Trump's going to win.
Yeah, I would think so. Now, he goes unopposed, though, doesn't he?
Yep.
Who's running against him?
Hey, is Bloomberg on the ballot in Alabama? I guess he is.
Yes, he is on Democrat, yeah.
Finally, he's been running these commercials for months, and he hasn't even been on the ballot in any of the states that have races yet.
Will, tell us a little bit about the races that we're looking at this morning from the Republican standpoint. Tell us who we're looking at.
The U.S. Senate race is going to be pretty interesting. I think it's probably going to be Coach Tuberville and Sessions in a runoff. And then the Congress, I think Jeff Coleman will be there, and then it'll probably be Troy King or the Moore guy from Enterprise.
All right, and who do you like there? Who do you like there, Will?
Well, I think Coleman might lead the ticket.
Now, he comes from a very wealthy family there in.
He's wealthy.
Cole, the name of the business for years was Colehan Moving Van Service, but they call it something else now, don't they?
He bought them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Cole Haan Moving Services. I used them twice in Birmingham when I moved.
Yeah, and he bought them out and so forth. He's a very wealthy young man.
He's got locations all over America and the world, I think.
Yeah, they're worldwide transit.
Yeah.
Their specialty is moving people that are in the military, which is the niche you want because they've got to move, every 2 years to some other base?
Bill, I think it'll be between Barry Moore and Troy King to come in second and then get the runoff in that race.
Yeah.
Troy King's got a lot of name recognition. He probably will come in second.
But you do look for a runoff here? You don't think that there'll be, and of course the runoff would. You're saying that it'd be between Moore and King, is that right?
No, Moore and King they'll fight to get into the runoff with Cole.
That's what I'm saying, between the two, yeah.
But then that young lady in Prattville is, you can't dismiss her either.
Yeah, I don't think she's going to get there.
Okay.
Tell us this district, where did it lie, this district?
Well, there's like 14 counties, Mike, I think.
Yeah, and
up from Prattville all the way to Dothan and over to Andalusia.
Yeah, okay.
All those counties.
It was the seat held forever by Bill Dickinson.
Bill Dickinson, yeah.
I know a little. I'll impress y'all with my knowledge of political history. He swept into office in 1964, which was a landmark election because that was Barry Goldwater ran for president, but that was the first time probably a Republican had won a congressional seat. It was just Alabama was a huge Democratic state, and then Dickinson won, and then like everybody that usually goes up there, he stayed forever. And then who followed him?
Terry Everett.
Terry Everett, yeah. That's right.
And then Bobby Bright, he only had it. He was a Democrat that was won in a very.
Bobby Bright got elected in 08 when Obama got elected president, and he got elected in 08 for 2 years, and then Martha Roby had it for 10 years, something.
All right.
And of course, it's been a strong Republican area for a long time. That's always been our Republican. On the other side, tell us a little bit about what you think is going to happen on that side in that race. Can Everett? Do you think Tuberville can run a big campaign?
Oh yeah, I think it's Tuberville and Sessions a bit close, and then they'll go in a runoff.
Do you believe that the name recognition that Tuberville has? Do you think people will want to vote for this football coach?
I tell you, I like him, and I think a lot of people are going to vote for him.
And not just Auburn people. There'll be a lot of Alabama folks voting for him, won't they?
I'm voting for him, and he beat us 6 times in a row.
Well, I know he's got Sessions' attention because Sessions is running negative ads against Tuberville, so you don't do that unless somebody's got your attention.
That's right. You know he's getting desperate, probably.
But now we're talking about a guy though that is very good friend of yours, who has helped you and your son in their political future.
Yeah. Well.
You going to have a hard time here on who to vote for?
Well, the president's not happy with Jeff Sessions at all.
I know, but it doesn't. President Trump, a lot of the high-ranking, officials that work for Trump are Sessions guys. Isn't that true?
Well, the one...
Isn't the Miller guy, one of Sessions' right-hand guys?
I don't know who that is, Mike.
Stephen Miller?
Yeah.
I don't know him. Where is he from?
Well, I thought that he'd worked for Sessions for years, and now he's one of Trump's big guys.
But
Rick Dearborn worked for Trump for a while, but he's out.
Yeah. We're going to pick up this person on hold. I'm going y'all bear with me a little bit on this, if you will, and I'll be right back with you. We're going to put you on hold right now. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, Big Mike. This is Tom Moody up in Birmingham.
T. Tom Moody, Mountain Brook, Alabama. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Good to hear from you, Dr. Moody, and you'll be coming to town to offer a great service to a lot of men, don't you think?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we will. This will be our maybe 4th or 5th year to come down there, maybe longer than that probably, but we're coming down on March 7th to the Pike County Health Department to offer free prostate screening to any man that wants to come.
And I tell you why, this is something that's very, very important for men out there, and you don't have to go through a doctor or anything. All you do is go down to the health department and sign up. Is that right?
That's exactly right. This is it costs absolutely nothing. All we want you to bring is yourself, and we need contact information so we can notify you of your results. We try to make it easy. It's doesn't take long. We've been doing it long enough. We got the process pretty well streamlined. So you come in, sign your name, let us know how to get in touch with you. You come back, get a little blood drawn, the doctor checks you, and then you're on your way with the knowledge that you have done what you need to do to take care of yourself.
Of course, you're a doctor located in Birmingham. You've been doing this a long time. This is a very important thing in a man's life because this colon cancer can sneak up on you if you don't watch it. So you need to have it checked every year, and this is a good way to do it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, this is prostate cancer.
Oh, prostate cancer. Excuse me.
Prostate cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in American men. The first one being lung cancer. So, if prostate cancer is caught early, it's almost always curable. And so, there's no reason for any man in Alabama to die from prostate cancer if they come out and get checked. We can really help you and help save your life.
And that it is very important. And I'm thinking, what time do y'all start on Saturday?
Well, the official start time is 10 o'clock, but we generally get there a little early, maybe 9 or so.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
if they want to come in early and get a jump on the day, just come on in a little after 9, and we'll, as soon as we get there, we'll set up and check anybody that's there, and we'll keep going till about 2 o'clock.
One of the doctors here, and I don't know if he's still involved in it, actually hails from Brundage, Alabama, doesn't he?
Yes, sir. Dr. Mike Bivens, a hometown hero. Mike is a specialist in prostate cancer, and he's a wonderful doctor, wonderful son of Pike County, and he'll be there, as will his mother, Miss Constance Bivens, who has been one of our biggest supporters. She hands out the flyers that we've sent down there. Wonderful. And really drums up participation, and we're grateful to Mike and his mother.
No question about it, Doctor. And again, this is something that you need to take very serious. I've done it every year, and I actually look forward to it because I know that I'm getting a service provided by doctors that look at this every day. I mean, your group of doctors are specialists in this field, and it makes you feel a lot better about yourself if you get this done.
Absolutely. We women are generally much better about taking care of their health than men, and we encourage men to take a page out of the women's book and take care of yourself. And so that's for not only for you, but for your family and your friends. And it's just a great thing to do. And we encourage all men, particularly men 40 years of age or older, to come in and get checked. We'll check anybody that walks through the door. And again, I want to emphasize it's absolutely free.
Absolutely free.
Early detection can
save
your life.
And your local doctor will encourage you to have this done. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's
exactly these are not doctors trying to take business away from doctors. This is a free service that y'all been providing for, 10 years now? How long?
Yeah, probably about 12 years. And when we send the results, the person we send the results to is free to see anybody they want to follow up, their local doctor, a urologist in Dothan or wherever. But if anybody doesn't have a doctor and wants to come to Birmingham, we'll see them regardless of ability to pay.
Regardless of ability to pay, that is another big thing,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And we don't want finances to stand in the way of anybody getting checked or anybody getting treated. We feel an obligation because we have such a big prostate cancer practice. We feel an obligation and a duty to try to see that men of all socioeconomic stratas get checked and get treated no matter what.
Doctor, I've got to throw this in. It just so happens that you're pretty good friends with my son, Michael Amos.
Yes, sir, Ray. And his wife, Lee Smith, grew up on the street. Lee Smith Amos now grew up on the street right down the road from us here on our street. And my wife and I were actually at the hospital when Lee was born. So we've known her entire life. Yeah. And she's been a wonderful, sweet person. She's just as sweet and
so this is a good time to tell Mike Amos how lucky he is. Is that right?
Oh, buddy. Yes, sir, it is. Mike's lucky. Well, Lee's lucky too. It's truly a match made in heaven. They have 2 beautiful daughters now, and their mother Sandra and all her friends couldn't be happier.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, I always see you at a real fun time of the year. Prior to this, that's on Christmas night. I see you at a party every Christmas night, and I look forward to that. And then again, this is a time where it's very important for me to see you again and have this service provided by you to the people of Pike and surrounding counties.
That's right. That's right. So we certainly appreciate your time and letting us come on to get the word out. And
now, how long y'all gonna be here? Now, y'all gonna come in here around 10, and how long will you stay?
Until 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Pike County Health Department
Pike
on
County Health
Franklin
Department.
Drive, right?
And it's so easy. You come in, you sign up, and they'll call you when your time's ready.
Yeah, and there's very little waiting time. We really we've tried to streamline the process, so we want it to be just as easy as we can. So we encourage all men, particularly those 40 years of age or older, to come in and get checked. It'll be an easy thing, one of the easiest things you've ever done, but one of the most important things you've ever done.
No question about it. Thank you, Tommy, and we appreciate it so much, and we look forward to seeing you on Saturday.
Great. Thank you, Big Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you, my good friend. And, of course, he's been in the business a long time. This is a great service provided by this company that wants to make sure that everybody has their prostate. Is that right?
Yes. Early detection is the key.
Exactly. Let's go back to our callers. Willow, we got one at the top of your screen here. Let's see who that is. Good morning, Willow. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Hey, it's me.
All right, I'm going to bring...
I think he's on.
Okay, yeah, we got both of you on. Will, you on? Will Matthews, are you on? Doctor, all right, who's that on line number 2? Do you know?
That's Mike.
All right, line number 1. Good morning. Well, good morning. Who are we talking to?
Yeah, me again.
All right, okay.
I'm on.
All right, there we go, Will. We didn't have Will call in. Will Matthews calling in from Ozark this morning, and not only is he one of our political experts and also golf experts, this is a big time of the year for everybody who's interested in politics. And one thing is the Democrats need to find a leader badly. Don't you agree?
Well, I think they're fixing to pick their leader.
And who do you think is going to be Biden?
Biden, yeah. The fix is in, I think.
I tell you what, if you judge Biden's wife, I heard her speak the other night. She is wonderful. I'm telling you, she is a sharp lady. Talking about Biden's wife. Have you ever heard her speak or anything?
I've seen pictures of her. I haven't heard her
She's
speak.
a beautiful lady. She really is a classy lady.
Who would Biden's running mate be?
Who knows? But I heard that Biden said yesterday he's the only candidate in the race that can beat Ronald Reagan.
Yeah.
No.
probably right. He's probably right.
No, he meant to say Trump.
Oh, okay.
And then the other day he also said, I am running for Senate.
Oh yeah, he's got some problems.
I mean, everybody told me that Biden was out of it like several weeks ago. How in the world has he gotten back in it?
He got back in it because
they've got to have somebody that can beat Trump.
Nobody.
What do you think? You think Barack Obama will go out and campaign for him against Trump?
He already is. He came out yesterday and did a commercial.
Yeah.
Well, they got to the South, Michael, and then that's the African American voting base that was Obama people and Biden people. That was Obama Biden. So his firewall was he was going to get to the Super Tuesday races and surge ahead. And then I think what Will says is true. All these other candidates are dropping out, and you watch, they're all going to throw their support to Biden, all in an effort to prevent Bernie from getting the nomination.
No question about it. I want to mention our good friends at Bird Drugs this morning, one of the great drugstores in the country. I look forward to a delicious hot breakfast every morning starting at 7 o'clock from Bird Drugs on the corner in downtown Troy. And also our good friends at Ken. And I want to mention this morning.
You almost said Ken Cox Ford.
No. I was going to tell you, not only have we got Jim is our Chevrolet dealership, but Jim Jackson, our Ford dealership, right here in Troy, now under two roofs. Ford and Chevrolet, and Jim Jackson is our owner and been in the business a long time, and we appreciate him very much. We'll be back with more of Today in LA after this.
I've been working for this my whole life. The chance to relax on the open water. With my financial institution, Max, my Achieve checking account earns dividends. So I'm free to do what I love.
Piggly Wiggly's local butchers are on site at both stores and will help you select the best cuts of meat and trim them to your liking. Our USDA Choice beef is the most consistently tender, juicy, and flavorful beef you can buy, all at cost plus 10%.
A personal touch, a high level of trust. Whether it's checking and savings accounts, personal or business loans, or our local friendly service. That's what Troy Bank and Trust customers expect. But now we offer more. Free identity theft protection for our new and existing customers, protecting your family's time, money, and good name from identity theft. Because protecting your identity is now a big part of our identity.
Napa know-how.
Trojan Auto Parts of Troy, home of Napa know-how. Stop by and see owners Mike and Melissa Kilcrease and their Napa know-how team with over 100 years of combined experience. We're the only locally owned parts store in Pike County, and we're fully stocked and ready to serve you. We pride ourselves on being your go-to parts store, not only for the simple items, but we specialize in those hard-to-find items as well. Trojan Auto Parts, the right part at the right price at the right time. Napa, a name you've trusted here in Troy since 1945.
Know-how. Napa know-how.
We're still on.
Last basketball game tonight, isn't it?
That's right. Back to our show, and ladies and gentlemen, Troy University's men's basketball team will play its last game of the season tonight from the Trojan Arena, starting at 6 o'clock against Texas Arlington. Coach Cross's old team.
Is it 6 o'clock tip?
6 o'clock tip from
I'm
Trojan
sure
Arena.
that some of these assistant coaches and players have to know that, and I would expect Troy to play their best game in several weeks. Of course, Troy has lost several games in a row, but you know,
Or do they not get to play in the tournament, Mike?
they do not. They're not one of the top 10 teams. You got to be in the. There's 12 teams in basketball, and they're not even
Hey,
in the.
I got to run, guys. Good talking to y'all.
All right, well,
Good luck.
Hey, good luck to you. We'll call in and we'll celebrate tomorrow. Hopefully.
And check Will Matthews' named as a delegate. Is that right? Republican Party? He's already gone. But his name is on the ballot, and he's been a delegate. And, I would think that'd be fun if you like politics. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. You get to go to great cities and hang around the people that are passionate about politics. This year's convention is in Charlotte, North Carolina, Will said.
By being a delegate, he was able to get his son employed by one Donald Trump. And he's done pretty well with Trump.
He's told that story several times. It's a great story. I'll see if I can relate it real quickly. He didn't want to go to some political event in Montgomery, but his son talked him into it.
Talking about Will.
Yeah, Will's son said, "Come on, Dad, you got to go." So he went. Jeff Sessions happened to be there, and they happened to end up eating or sitting next to Jeff Sessions. And they were talking about what Will's son was going to do and his life. And Jeff said, "You ought to work." Senator Sessions said, "You ought to work for Donald Trump." And darn if he didn't pick up the phone and call him. And he said, "Yeah, I'll go to Florida, talk to so-and-so." And then they went to Florida. Then they said they sent him to Pennsylvania, where he led the whole Trump campaign, this young man in Pennsylvania, which was one of the key swing states. Trump wins in Pennsylvania, and not surprisingly and appropriately enough, he gets a job in the Trump administration with the Department of Labor. Agriculture.
Yeah.
And he's been in Washington ever since.
And, of course, now he's married and has 2 children. He married a girl that worked on the campaign with
He originally saved somebody's life, and then he was in an accident where he almost lost his life.
Yeah,
so.
no question.
Amazing story. Troy men's basketball's lost 6 in a row. So going to be interesting to see if they can find a way to win. It'd be great to get to 10 wins, I mean, I know you're still going to be 10 and 21, but sounds a lot better than 9 and 22.
Yeah, no question about it.
I mean, you went to that first game against UAB, one of the biggest, most electric crowds in Troy basketball history in the new arena, and Troy gets beat at the buzzer. It's almost like the season. That first game maybe could have changed the way the whole season went almost. It's kind of crazy to think.
You're exactly right. And, a win there would have really propelled them, no question about it. The only sad thing about tonight is Troy's baseball team plays at Regents Park in Birmingham tonight against UAB at the same time that they're playing basketball against Texas Arlington. I would like to have the opportunity to go to that game in Birmingham.
Well, you got other big news out. Troy has released their schedule for football in 2020. You want to go ahead and just pick their record?
That's going to be fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to give you the schedule and who we think will win the games of next year's Troy University Trojans. I know they open up, Mike, against a team they should win. Who do you tell us about it?
Yeah, they start the season against Arkansas Pine Bluff.
Okay.
And then they're on the road against UMass.
Now, that should be a real good game to go to. What's the date on it?
I mean, it's basically the second game of the season, September 12th.
All right, September 12th. I got you.
Then you got North Carolina State at home in Troy.
State.
Wow, that's going to be a big one.
On what date, if you don't mind?
September 19th, I guess.
The 19th, that's right. Hello.
Yeah, I got you. I'm sorry. We got your little granddaughter trying to talk.
Hey, Mary Prater.
And then after that, you got an off week, it looks like, and you get ready for South Alabama on October the 3rd.
Where they play that game?
That's at South Alabama.
In their brand new stadium, I hear. Have you heard that?
Yeah, that's correct.
They got a brand new stadium on campus there in South Alabama.
Just like UAB's getting ready one.
And what's the date on that, if you don't mind, Mike?
It's October the 3rd.
All right, the 3rd. I got you.
Then your Texas State comes to Troy. That game's going to be on October the 8th on a Thursday night. That's going to be an ESPN game.
I like that. This is Texas State?
Yeah, so that's a very quick turnaround to have to come play South Alabama in Mobile and then turn around and play on a Thursday night in Troy.
All right, what's the date on that? Thursday night?
October the 8th.
Oh, man, you're right. But it'd be fun for our local teams,
And that game probably won't be too hot. That'll be one of the first cool games.
All right, go ahead, Mike.
And then Troy has another break where they have a game not until October 17th. They play on Saturday against ULM.
Where they play that game? Where they play that game?
That game's in Troy as well.
ULM.
And then after that, they play Georgia State in Troy. Of course, Georgia State blew out Troy last year. That game will be on October the 24th.
Georgia State on the 24th. That's all right, I got you. That's 3 games in a row.
Yeah, but they're kind of spaced out due to the dates.
All right, I got you.
So then after that, you've got Arkansas State in Jonesboro.
Yeah, that'd be a big one. All right.
Well, that's always a tough place to play. After that, you got to go to Georgia Southern. Troy's beat Georgia Southern 3 straight years, November 7th.
They'll have that one marked on their calendar to end that streak.
All right. Excuse me, I've got one game, though. Arkansas State, date on Arkansas State, Mike.
October 31st.
All right, 31st. That's Halloween night. Playing at Arkansas State.
Good thing that game's on the road, because that would have affected attendance with playing a game.
And the Georgia Southern game is November the 7th.
November the 7th, and then you got Coastal Carolina coming to Troy. Pretty much cost Troy a chance to go to a bowl last year when they beat Troy in overtime. On November the 14th, that game will be in Troy, and then Troy will play your favorite coach and Banks' favorite coach, Jeremy Pruitt. They'll travel to Neyland Stadium and play in Knoxville, Tennessee on November the 21st.
21st of October.
November
at the Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Well,
okay.
another great trip.
You'd be able to drive over there and see your favorite thing, the foliage.
The foliage, you're right. The foliage. Everybody else knows what I'm talking about.
Is the foliage still around though on November 21st?
Yeah, you're right. They might not be around.
And then the trip I've been wanting to make, because I've heard amazing things about the town, and I heard it's a beautiful trip, is Appalachia State in Boone, North Carolina on the 28th. So Troy's going to basically be in the mountains on the 21st and the 28th.
Mm-hmm. That's neat. So
yeah,
you got the Massachusetts game, the North Carolina State game, the Tennessee game, plus the usual suspects in our conference. I like it.
That's right, and we get to actually have turkey at home too. Is that right?
Yeah. No, they'll be on the road.
No, I know, but Thanksgiving Day, what will we be at home or will we?
No, you'd be at Appalachia State in Boone.
What on the 29th? It'd be
The
Thanksgiving.
28th. The 28th. Yeah,
I got
Boone.
you, 28th. Okay, I got you. We'll be at Boone for Thanksgiving. Okay. All right, now
then if Troy wins, the conference, they'd possibly be able to host or go on the road and play December 5th in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game.
All right, you want to try to pick these guys right now?
Well, I mean, I see several losses already. I see NC State at home will be a loss.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that NC State will beat them? I think we'll beat NC State.
Pat, you got to look at what Troy was last year. You got to realize they got a lot of rebuilding at Troy.
All right, let's take a look at them and see who we like.
I see Arkansas State being a loss. I see Georgia Southern being a loss. I see Tennessee being a loss. I see Appalachia State being a loss. At best, right now, I can see Troy going 7-5, probably going 6-6.
Did you say Troy had beaten Georgia Southern 3 times in a row?
Yep.
That's correct.
God, that's hard to believe, Mike.
But now he thinks we're going to lose.
They've actually blown them out 3 times in a row.
Yeah. Well, let's see what all right, they'll beat Arkansas Pine Bluff. They'll beat UMass, and that's where Foliage might come in that early.
UMass is a Division I program in the big, aren't they?
They're Division I.
They're not in the conference.
They're Division I. And,
and UMass is not anywhere near Boston. We looked this up before. It's located in Amherst, Mass. It's about 3.5 hours from Boston.
I bet it's pretty up there, though.
So it's not the tourist attraction that we thought it was. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
All right, I think Troy will beat them, and I think Troy will beat North Carolina State at home. I really believe they will.
I don't see that.
I believe Troy's going to start off 3-0. All right.
Boy, yeah, you must not remember that defense from last year.
I read the Phil Steele magazine every year, and he has a page in every edition talking about teams that lost a large number of close games that could have gone either way, which Troy did last year. And he says usually the law of averages means that reverses the next year. So those close games you lost the previous year, you're due to win the next year. And one of those close losses was Southern Miss. Troy could easily beat them. So I would compare Southern Miss to North Carolina State and say that Troy could, certainly at home, can definitely beat North Carolina State.
That's no question in my mind.
But Mike's right. They'll be an underdog.
All right, then we go to Mobile to play South Alabama. That's going to be a tough one, but I think Troy will win it. I think Troy will beat South Alabama. What do you think, Mike? They're going to be better now. South Alabama.
Yeah. You got to think Campbell. This is a make or break year for him. So I would think that Troy would have the athletes to beat them, but we'll see.
All right, I'm taking them. Okay, now this one here is on October the 8th. It's going to be played in Troy on a Thursday night. And who do you like here? Hello.
What are you talking about, Texas State?
Yeah, Texas State. Do you like Troy over Texas
State?
I
like Troy to beat Texas State at home. They beat them last year, 65-21.
Yeah. How about this, Mike? I've got them going 5-0 right out of the blocks. 5-0.
Of course you do.
Okay, but Mike, it's not my heart. It's not my brain.
Not your rose-colored glasses, huh? Not your.
I said last year the worst we could have gone. I mean, really the worst. I thought we were going to go was 8-4. Yeah. And we went 5-7.
All right, this next team.
Well, that's good that we can take your picks with a grain of salt. Then
after playing Texas State, and Texas State will be better. They can't help but be better, and of course they're a big
Jake Spavinos, an offensive-minded coach, was an offense coordinator at Texas A&M, offense coordinator at West Virginia, offense coordinator at Cal. So I mean, the guy's been a lot of places.
Oh yeah, they're gonna have a lot of players. It's a big school. They have over 30,000 students on campus.
That's the population of Troy. For perspective, is 19,000.
That's right. All right. Now another team that gives Troy a hard time. They play them 9 days later. They play Louisiana Monroe, but I'm saying Troy will beat Louisiana Monroe. They're off. Troy's off, Mike, to a 6-0 start. What do you think?
I don't have 6-0. I've got 5-1.
Okay. All right, now, and that positive, ladies and gentlemen, this guru here is saying they're going to go six straight. All right, Georgia State, who's much improved, we play them on the 24th of October, and we play them at their place, at the old Turner Field, same place that the Braves played for all those years, Turner Field.
No, this game's in Troy.
Whoa.
They did that last year.
Mike. Okay, look at how many home games we have.
Troy has a lot of home games early.
They really do.
Troy has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 home games in the first 7 games.
That is amazing. All right, so they're going to
play.
And
then the other game is in the state of Alabama in Mobile. The only real travel they have is to Massachusetts.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. On this Georgia State game, did you say they play in Troy?
Yes.
All right, I say they'll beat them in Troy. So it's going to be a big game because they'll be good. There's no question they'll be good. So
Troy's going to have to play Lane, Hatcher, and Arkansas State, and Lane lit Troy up last year. I'm going to say Arkansas State beats Troy.
Mike, I'm fixing to fall out of my chair. I'm saying Troy's going to win their first 7 games.
That was one of those games that could have gone, that Troy easily could have won. That was one of those toss-up games.
All right, Mike. All right, so
after Troy starts 7-0, they're at Arkansas State, at Georgia Southern. 2 straight games on the road.
On the 31st, Halloween night, and you know how Arkansas State loves to wear those black uniforms. You won't see anything but black, on the field with their uniforms. Arkansas State, this is going to be a big one. I'm going to say Troy's going to finally lose one. They're going to lose at Arkansas State on Halloween night. But they took off strong, though. They won their first 7 straight before losing at Arkansas State.
Yeah, I've made that trip many a times. That's a tough place to play, and then even tougher place to play is Tunica at the casinos. I've never had much luck there either.
Okay, now we've got Georgia Southern on the 7th day of November, playing at Georgia Southern. This will be a big game for Troy.
Georgia Southern's got their quarterback back, Shy Words.
Yeah. I sort of like Troy in this game, Mike. They beat them 3 times in a row, and we're talking about a good team now in Georgia Southern. Well, I don't know.
It's hard to predict this game.
I'm going to just say we'll lose that game at Georgia Southern.
I'm still smarting over a time they beat Troy in the playoffs, upset us at home in the 1AA playoffs.
Remember that well?
Oh God, Troy! Went down to the last second.
Probably the biggest upset of Troy in history.
I think Troy was undefeated.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Troy was undefeated. I mean, I still think the guy probably trapped the ball.
Yeah. Okay.
Then you got Coastal Carolina coming to Troy. That's a big revenge game. I think Troy will win that game.
I do too. All right, they'll win there.
Then Troy travels to Knoxville and then to Boone, North Carolina. I think that's going to be 2 losses.
Well, I think Tennessee is I don't think anybody
I think Tennessee's going to be really good.
Yeah, so I think they will lose this. And then the final game could be for the conference championship, or will it? Let's see.
Yeah.
Well, I've got.
I mean, definitely the way you got them playing, yeah.
Well, I don't know though.
Basically, you've only got to lose to Arkansas State and only losing to Tennessee, so you got them 10-2.
No, it just depends on how Arkansas State does in the division.
I've got Georgia Southern beating them, Mike.
Okay. Do you have App State beating them too?
Yeah. Well, I haven't picked that one yet. That game's played on Thanksgiving Eve or the day after Thanksgiving?
It's playing on the same day as the Iron Bowl.
Same day as the Iron
2 days
Bowl.
after Thanksgiving.
Playing that Appalachian State. They don't have all those great players that they had before. I believe
They still got the quarterback back from
I think Troy's going to beat them. I'm going to predict Troy to win. I'm saying Troy will lose. Will be 9-3.
There you have it.
I say Troy will be 9-3. That's pretty good, don't you think?
Uh-huh.
I'm saying 7 or 5.
Mike says 7 and 5.
7 and 5, 6 and 6, possibly. I can't.
If
you go any higher than that.
Yeah, you got us going to a bowl game, I hope.
Well, I mean, bowl eligible 6 and 6, but it doesn't guarantee a bowl out of the Sun Belt. Seven wins, it would help a lot more than 6.
Mike,
I tell you what, I've never seen a home schedule like this at Troy though, where so many games are early.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a fun time to start football, no question about it.
Having North Carolina State at the ACC come to Troy is a big deal. And then you play in Tennessee.
First year starting quarterback, you got to factor that in big time as well.
Yeah.
Also playing Tennessee, one of the historical powers in college football history, is a big deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, the last time we played them up there, we stayed up in the mountains, and I remember going down on a cold morning and going down the hill on that bus. It was downhill all the way to Knoxville. And in that game, Troy produced one of the greatest offensive attacks they've ever done in their history. They rushed and passed and rushed total offense over 700 yards.
I think it was 730 yards.
And lost the game 52-45 to Tennessee. Lost the game 52-45.
I mean, that's very few times I can remember any team in the history of college football having 730 yards.
It was actually 55-48.
Oh, okay, 55-48.
And then to lose the game, I listened to it on the radio in Pike Road, Alabama.
Well,
that game was on the SEC Network. I remember watching it.
Yeah. Let me say this about all of this schedule. This is the most conducive football schedule as far as the fans go of any I can ever remember. We're saying, like Mike says here, we're saying that without the first 1 or 6 out of the first 7 games, I think, are at home. I think, is that right?
6 out of the first 7 games are in the state of Alabama. 1 game's in Mobile, and the other 5 are in Troy.
Yeah. But we have more than, all right, Arkansas State's Arkansas Pine Bluff's a home game.
Arkansas Pine Bluff, NC State's a home game. Texas State's a home game, ULM's a home game, and Georgia State's a home game.
That's right. Boy, to start the season off. I think that's a great schedule for Troy to get off. You know what? They could be bowl eligible by the first half of the season.
That's a good point, yeah.
If they could beat NC State.
If they can beat NC State. And now, I'm not saying NC State's not going to be good because their program is a good program. But we'll be catching them at a pretty good time because they're coming off one of the worst seasons in their history.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming off a terrible year. Of course, they're very well coached, Mike. They're coached by the guy that used to be up there in
he was at Northern Illinois, Dave Dorton.
Yeah, Dorton.
North Carolina State's a strange program. Some years they're pretty good and always beat people you don't think they'll beat. I remember Troy went up there and got handled pretty easily, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. And I tell you, the atmosphere, 55, 60,000 people. It's a big-time program, no question.
I mean, Troy ought to have the best running backs they've had in years. They're going to have B.J. Smith back. He was preseason All-Sun Belt. You're going to have D.K. Billingsley. He almost rushed for 1,000 yards. You're going to have Strong, the Texas A&M transfer. You're going to have the kid out of Gaston City that looked really good in spots last year. I mean, running back position and wide receiver position is going to be through the roof.
Whoever number 2 is, I watched them Saturday up close and personal. I was right down on the field. And this number 2, this big, tall wide receiver, Mike.
That's the kid from Blunt.
Mike, he made catches after catches. I mean, miraculous catches.
Reggie Todd.
Yeah, he's going to be a big-time player.
How's the offensive line?
Pretty good last year.
Yeah.
With all those running backs, you need an offensive line, but we lose a lot in the offensive line, don't we?
Yeah, they've got 3 starters Three starters coming back, though.
All right, now tell us about the quarterback. And I've heard that, ladies and gentlemen.
I have no idea who the quarterback's going to be. I mean, Parker McNeil.
The big quarterback, didn't they have a special on him recently?
Well, I mean, just, basically kind of a Q&A, meet the quarterback type thing video on TroyTreasures.com.
And what did they say about it?
Parker McNeil is out of Navarro. He was a junior college All-American. And then you got Gunnar Watson back, Jacob Free back, Gavin Screws. And then you're bringing in the kid from Georgia in August, so I would imagine he'll be redshirted.
Well, he also got a quarterback that transferred in here from Ole Miss as a running type quarterback.
Yeah, I keep on hearing about him. I can't see that happening, but maybe so.
Do they? I've heard two different versions. Do they like this big junior college guy, or do they not like him?
I don't know, man. You'd have to ask the coaches what they think.
I mean, some people, some of the reports have been very positive, and then some of the reports have not been. And I think what that is saying is he's not a real mobile quarterback, but he is a drop
back. The quarterback you're talking about is Jacob Sendeo out of Alpharetta, Georgia. Was an Ole Miss walk-on, then he walked on at Troy. 6 foot, 194-pound quarterback.
Yeah, real fast.
Well, why can't they switch? Why can't they put him at a slot receiver or something?
They could, but Troy's got a lot of good ones. I think what they'll do with him is bring him in at certain times, like on the goal line or different or first play, first down situations or whatever, and let him run the option.
That'd be the Wildcat type.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Yeah, I like
He's
that.
real quick. He's real quick.
You can't coach that.
Yeah. I like Troy. I like the way they look. Their attitude was wonderful on the watching them practice on Saturday. And
well, one thing I will say, he kept his coaching staff. A lot of people thought for sure he was going to get a new defensive coordinator, but he believes in these guys. And
well, he lost one of his best recruiters and coaches early in the spring.
Oh, I guess I don't know that.
Poe is gone.
Poe's been gone, Dad. Poe went to West Virginia.
Oh. Who's the other one that was such a good recruiter? I thought it was.
Well, we had this great recruiting class that y'all commented on, maybe the best ever in Troy history. So there's maybe some freshmen that we haven't talked about that will make an impact.
Yeah. And
the only coaching change I know of is the new strength coach.
All right, I thought they lost one of their recruiters.
Troy's got a new strength coach?
Yeah, they got a new strength coach.
Yeah, we talked about him. He was at Army, and then he was at Louisiana Lafayette for several years. He's been the head strength coach at Texas Tech.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Shaughnessy about him. Of course, Shaughnessy was our strength coach for years, and he speaks very highly of this guy, that he's really, really good. And, of course, we're excited about
name's Rusty Witt.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the Alabama new strength coach. I've read some articles on him and saw a clip of him in an interview, and I think he's going to be just fine.
No question.
Coaches all that are back. Chip Lindsey's back. Brian Blackman's back. Ray Brown's back at cornerbacks. John Carr, assistant head coach inside receivers, is still there. Brandon Hall is defensive coordinator. Bam Harmon is still co-defensive coordinator. Ryan Pugh, offensive coordinator. Andrew Ward, linebackers. Cole Weeks, running backs. Cornelius Williams, passing game coordinator. Outside receivers. Davin Williams, the defensive line, and then Rusty Witt's the only new coach I see.
Davin Williams.
Well, I tell you.
I remember him as a player.
Yeah, great guy, too, no question.
All right, I got to take your grandkids to school, man. I'll get over it.
That was a good show. Thank you, here.
See you, Michael.
Mike Amos calling in from Navarre, well, not Navarre Beach, but...
Well, he got us talking on our big topic, the Church of the Highlands. I'd read that.
Boy, what a topic that is. I mean, all right, you take First Baptist, a big, nice, wonderful church for so many years, has a big enrollment, and they hire a coach. They hire a preacher last week that will be joining them, I think, in May or somewhere in that time frame, and to bring that church back to its greatness. And doing all of this that's going on, they bring in a Church of the Highlands, which all they deal with is numbers. Boy, up in Montgomery, you said they had 3 different services, and how many people in it per each service?
1,000. at least.
At least 1,000 people there, and I think it's going to be wonderful that we're bringing more and more people to church and to worship God. I think that is extremely positive. But at the same time, I am concerned about some of these local churches.
Well, we've talked about the importance of high schools and sports programs and band programs to a school.
Yeah.
If those are good, your school's going to be good. If your schools are good, your community's going to be good. But you can also mention right along with that how good your churches are and how people are involved. Those are the entities and the organizations that provide the glue that bonds the community together.
That's right. And so it can be a very positive thing for Christ, very positive to these young people getting back into church. And, it looks like a wonderful program that they have. But at the same time, we need to support our local churches, too, that are, I'm not saying this won't be a local church, because it will, but the churches that have been here all these years and the foundations they've established all these years at the First Methodist Church, the First Baptist Church,
they
Park Memorial, the South Sides, the North Sides, and, old churches, First Presbyterian.
Churches become like families. I mean, they are. You hear people talk about their church family, and that is close to a real family. I mean, there are people that are there every time the door is open. They volunteer in 100 different ways. They serve people in 100 different ways. We've gotten active in the First Methodist Church in Troy and love it. It's just made such a positive difference in our lives.
No question about it. And that was something I wanted to compliment First Methodist on. What a wonderful send-off for Dr. Long. Classy operation, beautiful church, great pastor. Tell us about him.
Steve is a great pastor. He's just down to earth.
Steve Whitten.
Just real easy to relate to, very smart. Everybody loves him, and you couldn't ask for more in a pastor, but those are leadership positions that are so important. And don't you sometimes think about all that a pastor has to do? That's got to be one of the more demanding jobs there is.
But it's a wonderful church, and we have a lot of wonderful churches in our community. And, of course, I didn't mention the Catholic Church and the...
Let's don't start naming names, you're right.
I know, but what I'm saying, I left them out, and then the... Episcopalian
St. Mark's, where I grew up.
St. Mark's, yeah, no question about it. Of course, we're the main thing is we're worshiping God and Jesus Christ, and that's what the most important thing is. Bill Rice has added such a great dimension to our programming here on Troy Cable. Of course, we've been coming to you since 1998, and that's been a pretty long time ago. And we're going
today in
strong.
LA has been on for 22
we're going strong
years.
at 2020, so we're excited about that, our growth and our the most important thing about our show every morning that goes out on internet around the country and around the world, but is providing information. Keeping people up with what's going on, and that's big news. The new church. Big church that's coming to Troy, and if they do it a certain time limit, there'll be people to be going to both those churches, or to go to two or three different churches. I would be. Like if it's 11 o'clock service, my service at my church starts at 10. I might go to that 11.
It was surprising to me because the towns that the Church of Highland has expanded in are bigger cities.
Big town,
Dothan and Tuscaloosa, Montgomery. Columbus, Georgia, they said. And Mike read off the list, and the only other small town on the list was Sylacauga, home of Jim Neighbors and John Hand.
You know who used to be their pastor of the Sylacauga First Baptist Church? Keith Pugh. Remember Keith Pugh, the wide receiver at Alabama?
Number 4.
He was their pastor for a long time. Sylacauga's a great little town. That's no question.
That was where Mr. Crow lived, wasn't it?
Bebe Crow. Bebe Crow, lived there.
But the Church of the Highlands is in Sylacauga, which I guess their population is even smaller than Troy's. Yeah. But Troy would be the second smallest town
but they'll
on
draw,
that list.
you're right, but they'll draw from Ozark. They'll draw from surrounding.
Well, you made a good point. It's
Yeah.
going to bring people into town.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah.
Sisters will do more business for their Sunday dinner.
Yeah, exactly. like they need more business.
Yeah,
Sisters is overwhelming. I want to mention our very good friends, Jason and all the great folks at Premier Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, and Ram trucks on the bypass. Ladies and gentlemen, no deal. There's no deal like a Premier deal anywhere, and we appreciate them so very much for being strong supporters of our program here. Again, another great show talking about not only this great ministry coming to Troy and surrounding areas, but also a review of our football.
And today is Super Tuesday.
And today is the time to go vote. Hey, you can gripe about all these things year round, but hey, this is when it counts, is when you go to the polls. So go to the polls and vote for the candidate you think is most qualified to provide leadership to our nation. Piggly Wiggly, no better place. I love their produce department, and I love the way they cut the cantaloupe. I bought 3 big cantaloupes there the other day, and they were so good and so sweet. And then, of course, you move around, and their meat department is outstanding. And I'll just tell you this, you'll find items at Piggly Wiggly in Troy that you won't find
great
anywhere
prices
else.
and then friendly staff, too.
Yeah. Hope you've enjoyed our show. See you tomorrow, bright and early, today in L.A.